Hey YouTube! So, working on another project. It always seems to be the crappiest days I pick to work on projects, probably because I don't want to do it on nice days. But anyway, we have a project that's going to happen upstate at the cabin pretty soon. I gotta stabilize some of the piers underneath the cabin. They're starting to move and shift after 12, 13 years now, and they're big 14-inch concrete piers, and we need to weld some brackets to put in some support cross members. So that'll be a whole nother video, fun stuff. Some of you might know from other videos, I used to do welding fabrication. I used to work in manufacturing. I was more on the engineering side and prototyping side, but I can weld fairly well. I've got a fair amount of experience in it. Definitely not a professional, so just let's get that out there now, but good enough. I can get the job done without porosity and other problems, and mostly MIG. I've done a little bit of TIG, but not much. Anyway, we need a solution to weld those brackets up there without me bringing my whole big rig. I have a big old, what is it, it's a Hobart 210, which is the exact same thing as a Miller 210. Really nice machine. I've had that welder for years now. I don't even know. Probably 15 years. It's back there. It's on a big cart. It's got a gas can and all my gear on top, and it's just a big clunky mess to move around. I remember moving a couple houses so far, and just a headache. So bringing that thing upstate in the back of my truck is just not something I'm too interested in. Secondly, the welds that need to be done on this are not, we're not entering a museum contest. We're not, I'm not being judged on them. So I don't really care. They just need to hold well and be decent. So enter screen left. I know, Harbor Freight, but I think people need to understand that Harbor Freight are really stepping up their game right now. This is a Flux welder. It's called the Easy Flux 125. So this is going to be an unboxing. I know you guys have probably seen them, but we're going to do another one. And my impressions, my opinions, do a little bit of test welding. And yeah, we'll go from there. I mean, I know what the 210 can do. I know what better machines can do. We'll see what a flux core machine can do. I've welded flux. I've welded stick. And both have their ups and downs. The big up for me is that, as you'll see in a second here, this thing is tiny. It's this big. There's nothing to it, so you can bring it on remote sites. It's also 120 volt as opposed to 220, and up there we don't have a very large generator. We have a 3500 watt generator, which wouldn't even run a normal 210 welder. So yeah, we don't have a choice, in other words. This machine is the perfect option for what we're looking to do, and for remote job sites and things of that nature, it is what it is. Please excuse, by the way, the horrific nature of my garage. It's it's a working garage. I use it, and I have 2 kids, so keep that in mind too. There's a lot of kid toy vomit over there, and anyway. All right, well, let's just get to it. I'm not going to do anything fancy. We're just going to pull it out. I opened the box just to make sure it's there. Sometimes Harbor Freight, you get returns, and you're going to have problems in that regard. So, I saw one video, and the guy was saying that the gun wasn't great. Yeah, it's not. It's a cheap welder. I'll tell you right now, just looking at the quality of it, it's not horrible, though. And the trigger is one of the things people are complaining about. Doesn't look bad to me. But again, not you're not talking about a $700 Miller, or a $1,200 Miller for that matter. All right, so take all that out. I think we got some wire, a couple tips, and a strap. Keep it strapped, right? All right. Whoa. And go with it. All right. So, titanium. Harbor Freight's really stepping up their name game here. Like I was saying just before, the size is a beautiful thing. This is the whole welder. This is all you need. Yeah, it's flux core, but you're not dealing with gas. You're not dealing with a bulky, big machine. You don't need a cart. It's so tiny. I mean, this thing weighs nothing. It's, I don't even know, 10 pounds probably. Once you put wire in there, maybe you're going to be dealing with a little bit more weight, but realistically, this is tiny. So this is cool too. I like that. It's good and bad. I'm used to side opening welders, which are good, but the other problem you have with them, really all these have bad design in the fact that you can't put them into, you know, a rolling apparatus very easily. They, you know, unless it's just a flat bottom cart, which who really needs that? So the nice thing about this though is you really are never going to need that, just because it's so small. You know what? Who's going to put this into a cart? I wouldn't ever. I'm going to store this thing up on a shelf, and when I need it, I pop it down and use it. So that's the one thing I hate on that machine though. That Miller, or excuse me, the Hobart is it's a side opener, and it hits the side of the cart it's in, so it's just a headache. I mean, I pretty much memorized all my settings on there, so I don't really care about that, but it's annoying. So this thing's pretty cool. It's got a pretty nice build quality for being, you know, a cheapy Harbor Freight. Now, keep in mind, Harbor Freight, like I said, is really stepping up their game. They've basically brought in, from my understanding, they've brought in engineers from a lot of different companies to their in-house engineering team, and they're basically offering 2 or 3 grades of products now. So in every major lineup where they think they can make some money, power tools, welders, you know, outdoor tools, things of that nature, they're bringing in engineers from some other, you know, Milwaukee or wherever, and saying, look, okay, yeah, we still offer our cheap junk, but we want to give us, you know, or we want to give our customers a better option. So here's your better option. They still have the Chicago Electric welders, and they're they'll melt metal, you know, but they're not great. This unit, my understanding, and we'll see in a little bit, it's a much better piece of equipment than even the Weld Pack 100 that Miller makes. This is actually a pretty nice flux core welder. And for certain jobs like the one we have coming up, it is ideal, right? So it's kind of a cool thing. All right, so I'm looking at the build quality overall. You know, you have a cord gland right here that's beautifully done. It's all threaded on. It's nice, good quality. This is obviously not a gas welder, so there's a lot less rigidity in the actual cable, or in, you know, in the gun, you know, cable. Clamp is your typical cheapy clamp. You know, you're not expecting much out of these. And honestly, I haven't had tons of problems with these. A lot of guys like to use the you know, C-clamp type ground clamps, and yeah, you're gonna get a better ground out of that, but the reality is, I don't know, I've been using these for years, and I really just don't have many problems, so that cool. Let me get you a little closer here, and then we'll look at the machine for what it is. Alright, so pretty cool stuff. So inside here you're going to see rated duty cycle. It's 30% at 90 amps, so for 10 continuous minutes. And they're saying 3 minutes of welding, 7 minutes resting. That's to be expected. It's an inverter unit, so they do tend to kind of run hot, and I get it. It's you know, and that's at full duty, or no, I'm sorry, that's at 30%. So that's welding fairly thick, you know, gauge steel for this unit, I should say, and that's fine. Again, this is not a production welder. This is not, you know, you're not going to find this in a warehouse making, you know, weldments for bumpers. You know what I mean? It's not what this is for. So I'm not offended by that. It doesn't bother me one bit. It gives you some gauge charts. I've read some other guys that have done reviews on these, that these are a little off. You really want to slow down a bit and use this more like a stick welder. And I'm probably gonna play with these settings from what I've read and what I've seen. Yeah. So and if you think about it, flux welding is similar to stick welding in the fact that it is using an electrode, you know, basically with a flux core, and stick welding has the same kind of premise to it. I know there's going to be some welding nerds out there that are going to tear me apart for what I just said, but the reality is you're not using a shielding gas. It is kind of similar, right? So I get where a lot of people are coming from when they say that, you know, and they basically, if you use these settings, you'll get a little bit more spatter than you probably want, and some porosity. You never want that. But then again, also your metal prep is a big deal. You know, a lot of people are lazy as hell and they don't prep their metal well, so you know, you get what you get if you don't do the job properly. So I'm guessing we got some 030 wire. Yeah. This is probably 030. Whoa, whoa, come back here. Yeah, so this is your shielded flux core wire, 030. They call it 0.8 millimeter because it's Chinese. You know, it's going to be decent stuff. I mean, I'll probably end up buying slightly better wire from a local shop we have here. Maybe, I don't know. I'll see how this thing welds, but we shall see. You also have a strap that I am going to put on. As much as I don't like extra crap laying around, it's a good thing to have on this little guy because, again, I'm not going to put it on a cart. There is zero need, in my opinion, to have this machine on a cart. I find that to be borderline ridiculous to put this on a cart. If you do it, oh, well, good for you, I guess, but it will not be on a cart. So what I am going to do is just go ahead and throw this strap on. The wire should be a fairly simple procedure. What I'm going to look at real quick is to see. Okay, so that's a nice little setup too for the wire feed, and that comes out. It's got a regular, really decent setup actually, and it's got the 035. Does it? Yeah, it had the 035 wheel in. Huh. It's a little odd. It should have the 030, right? Yeah. Huh. Well, that's a good thing I looked at that. So, I'm going to check the manual, make sure I'm going about this the right way. I don't usually do manuals, but let's do a manual, right? And then we'll do a little test welding once I get it all squared away. All right, so, oh man, let me turn this off real quick so you're not hearing that. There it goes. So far I really like it. There's a couple things I've noticed that are great, some not so great, but overall, you know, kudos to Harbor Freight for finally making a product worth putting I don't know what is it, $160 I think it was. I got it on some coupons, so we shall see. But yeah, it's pretty good. The other thing I really like is that they've actually taken the time to make a decent manual for once. Rarely do I find an off-port, you know, or excuse me, an import kind of offshore product, let's just call it that, the politically correct way, that has a manual that's worth reading. I mean, to be totally honest, but they really did just a bang-up job on this. You know, it's legible, it's properly done, the English is proper, the pictures are great, the verbiage and terminology are phenomenal. It's just really surprising just to even see that. I know you guys are probably like, oh, big deal, it's a manual. Well, most manuals with this stuff are not great. So yeah, overall, pretty good. Besides the manual, the build quality is quite nice. You know, compared to the old Chicago Electric stuff that they used to sell, and I believe they still sell, this is light years ahead. You know, I believe somebody did a video of an actual teardown inside, and the actual circuitry inside is beautiful too. There's overload, short protection, all that. I mean, this thing is just, it's built well, for the money, you know. One thing to keep in mind, and I'm glad I did check this, is that the roller wheel was incorrect in the fact that there's two sides to it. One's an 035, one's an 030, and it was on the 35 side from the factory, which is odd because they ship it with 030 wire. So just make sure you keep that in mind. Check that out before you go nuts and start, you know, trashing the machine and getting pissed off at it. It may actually be the roller wheel that's screwing you up. and make sure that it's on the right side for the wire you're using. Make sure you feed it the right way. When you're loading the spool, hold it as you're feeding it so that it doesn't unravel on you. I've seen that happen before. And then this cold wire feed button over here is a beautiful thing. A lot of companies don't put that even on like more expensive machines I've seen, and that's just nice. It's a much faster feed. You can feed it, and it took about less than I don't know, half a minute to feed all the wire I needed through the cable out the gun. It was beautiful. It was awesome. That's really what you want. Also, make sure that you put this plastic cap back on when you're changing your wheel, your feed wheel. That is the retaining cap for that wheel. It's important to put on. As far as your tension goes on here, basically an old trick that they taught us back when I was working in manufacturing is you want to hold the gun about 2 to 3 inches away from a hard surface, not your welder, and press the trigger, and then you should see the wire come out and bend. If it'll bend on its own power, you have good tension. If it slips and it's not doing anything, you don't have enough tension. If the wheel's not even moving, you could have too much tension. So there's a mix there you need to have to really get this squared away, and it's not critical. I haven't even looked to see that part of it, but I would assume, yeah, they actually tell you right on the quick start guide right there. Basically the same thing I just told you. So that's a good thing. And that's about all I have right now. So I will get this thing fired up, and I will do the test on the wire feed, and then we'll go from there. All right, so we're back. Homeschooling is fun, said nobody. Anyway, I got a helper, little Miss O. She's doing all right, right? Okay. So we are going to fire it up and do a wire feed test, make sure our tension's good. I have it kind of just, it's like not very tight. It's about where I think it should be, but we'll find out in a minute. So the back switch is where you turn it on. I'm going to turn my wire feed up to about, let's go halfway, and then we'll just see how much power it's got. So you want it to be about there before you even start. Again, these wire wheels don't have a ton of power, so you want to give it a little bit of a head start. So you basically just put it on a piece of a hard surface and press the trigger. See how it bent it? That's what you want to see. It didn't stop, and it wasn't skipping. Those are two things you don't want. So we'll snip that off, and I am happy with it. I think we're ready to do a little test weld. What do you think? Yeah? Yeah, I don't have a whole lot to say else about the build quality. It's good quality, but it's what you would expect for $160. You know, I personally think this is a nicer machine than a Miller weld pack. I think Miller has gotten way overpriced for what they are these days. The higher end machines are the higher end machines, don't get me wrong. Miller still makes, I think, the best welder in the world. Arguably, there are some other companies out there that are really doing a great job too, which I don't want to get into a war about welders. There's so many great ones out there. No, I'm not, the point of what I'm saying is I'm not downplaying Miller. I would just say that for the money, this is a better investment in my opinion than the low end Millers. Because even the lowest end flux core welder from Miller is, I think they're $300 or $400, something like that. And what are you getting for that really? In this, you're getting decent quality components, an inverter system, small compact design. You get where I'm going with this. So anyway, without further ado, let's get a little test weld done. I am working on roughly, I believe that's 18 or 8th inch, and it's telling me 10 and 7. So voltage 10, we'll see. Let's do it by their books, which is, no, I'm sorry, it's telling me 10 and E5. So let's go 10 and E.5. All right, so I got some 1/8 inch scrap steel here. It's pretty clean, not gonna worry about that too much. And I got a small gap here, and we're gonna give it a try. Yeah, I mean, I gotta knock the slag, but you know, initial impressions are, not bad. You know, for what it is. Yeah, you know, there's not much spatter. You know, I'll give you, and I didn't really brush it. I should brush it. Ugh. So again, you know, for what it is, it actually produces a pretty decent weld. I've used other cheaper flux core welders, and I really did not like them. You know, hopefully you guys can see that. Let me just make sure I am showing you something you can see. It's not horrible. So I'm going to run a full bead. And we got some decent penetration. I'm seeing no porosity either, which is great. Obviously, you'd have to dye test that and all that, but and we're a little hot. I would say it's dipping a bit more than I'd want, so maybe I'll slow down a bit. But otherwise, yeah, I mean, it's man, you know, it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool that you can have this kind of quality without a big, you know, production like you would have with a normal gas welder. So let's get a little more going. I want to see what we can do here. I'm going to calm it down a bit on voltage. I'm going to go down to regular E, and I'm going to slow it down a bit. All right, so what we have here is a power outage. I think I popped the breaker. So I have a kind of a crappy power supply that this is plugged into, but I think I've seen enough. Honestly, I'm pretty happy with what I'm seeing so far. It's a decent little welder, and yeah, I'm not complaining one bit about that. You know, for what I'm seeing on that weld, it's not professional grade, but it's also strong as could be. I'm getting decent penetration on the back side of that joint, and I would bet that I could weld test this with you know, some sort of a device to crack it, and it would probably hold up just fine. You know, you can see right there. And again, I'm not a pro welder at all, you know, but yeah, I'm really pretty happy with that. I gotta say, for the money, for 160 bucks, I think that's what I don't even know, to be honest with you. I think they retail for 200, and then you can always get that code or the coupon and get it down to like 160, 170. I don't even know what I paid. It was a while back, but I'm pretty happy. You know, it's again, for remote off-site welding, you can't beat this kind of quality. I mean, obviously I still have a bunch more slag to take off, and I'd have to really wire brush it clean to show you guys really, you know, what we're looking at. But it's pretty good, you know, and you're gonna get jobs where this is your only option. I mean, yeah, you could drag all your stuff out or hire a guy for $100 an hour to come out onto a job site, but I mean, when you're back in the backwoods and you need to get some welding done, and you're working with a 3,000 watt generator, what other option do you have? You know, It's I mean, obviously you can go stick, and stick, I have no issue with stick welding. It's a great option, but for me personally, I'm a fan of flux core. I do think it produces a pretty decent weld. I feel like you're going through less electrode cost too. You know, sticks are not cheap on a stick welder, and you burn through a fair amount of it when you're welding. Wire is easier to find too. Any Home Depot is going to sell Flux Core 30, and so you can find wire anywhere, and there's no gas needed, and you know, you really can't beat it. Go buy one. Harbor Freight, good on you for making a decent machine. And then pretty soon we'll have that video upstate. We're going to be doing some really cool stuff up there. So check back in. If you've watched this long so far, thank you. I know my videos are a little long-winded, and I just try to put as much information as I can out there so that you're getting the most you can out of it. Again, I don't get paid for this. I'm doing it for fun, and I want to really be helpful to people that are out doing the same stuff I'm doing. All right, Downstater out. Take care.